Blumenstedt on here, but I didn't have any internet for like 30 seconds, so bear with me here. We are fixing this problem really quickly. Kristen Burns is throwing her hat in the ring and has done so for the Woods River City Council elections that are going to be taking place on the 4th of April. Kristen, how are we doing today?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
So, right off the bat, as I, fix some of the stuff in post-production, as I tell everyone, give me a little bit of a background on who you are. I know that you've worked within the city for a couple of, years now, right?
Actually, no.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't actually work for the city at all.
So you were just, whenever I communicated with you on certain events, take us through. So what was that responsibility?
So a little bit of my background.
Yeah.
I have always been into marketing. I went to school for marketing and design. So my family owns a business in Wood River. So I work for my parents as well. But I've always been involved. I love to volunteer. Wherever I've been, I've always volunteered in the community because I think that that's important.
Absolutely.
As I grew up, my parents were always really hard on respect. And if you don't like something, try to change it. Try to make it the way that you want it to be. And so I've kind of taken that to heart. And I've always volunteered with tons of organizations. I actually went into the nonprofit realm as a marketing consultant and also just marketing here in Alton. Yeah. I was the marketing and program director for the Y here in Alton for quite a few years. Arthritis Foundation, lots of different places. So when my husband and I moved to Wood River, he's a police officer in Wood River. And I decided, I want to make my community better. And so I started going to city council meetings and seeing where I can volunteer. And it kind of turned into something. Mayor Stockup just came to me and he's like, hey, do you think you could help us just market the city, show the good in the city,
right,
and help us? And I absolutely. So I was able to help with the new website, getting an e-newsletter, getting all of these things so that the city just shows all of the good happening.
Well, and too, I that's why I was asking, because the way that we've communicated in the past, it was for all the city events going on, like the chili cook-off and all these different things that you guys were kind of developing and implementing. And that's kind of why right off the bat I thought, oh, she's a city, but you aren't.
No, actually the chili cook-off was with Wood River Economic Development, which is a total nonprofit away from the city. But the city was, of course, very helpful, and we were able to put that back on, which was an amazing event. We had so much fun.
Well, and I'm glad I asked that question because I think that might be something that voters need to know about too, is that is two separate entities. That's a non-for-profit.
Absolutely.
That you're volunteering your time and helping out, and very, very incredible. So I got to ask you, things were going well, it doesn't seem like there was too much hectic craziness going on, and you decided to throw your hat in the ring. Why so?
Well, it's always crazy.
Well, that's true. That's true. Good point.
Everything is always crazy. To be honest, I have 3 teenagers.
Okay.
And it's important to me to have them have a sense of community, have that hometown feel. And I feel like so many people don't have that. And so I'm like, now's the time. Right. Let's do this. Let's try to make people have pride in their community. Let's continue that. Let's get the youth involved. Let's get more people involved for the betterment of the city.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
I want my kids, I want them to spread their wings and go places and do the great things, but I also want them to come home and it be home. And that's important to me.
Well, and I've always been in agreement with the quote that children are the greatest investment you can make, because if you have a lasting impact, a lasting imprint, well, 9 times out of 10 they're going to come back and support the community when they're in a position to do so. And it's a great point to be made. Now, how has the family been since this decision? I got to ask, because this is where I always like to have a little bit of fun with all the candidates I talk to. Have they been supportive? Was it at first going, Mom, what are you doing here?
They've been awesome.
No kid, that's great.
Yeah. My kids are pretty great. So they have always been very supportive. And my son, I always say he's mama's boy, but he is like 100%. What do you need, Mom? What can we do? So, and my husband's been great. My parents have been amazing, because this takes time out of me being at the shop, helping out. And I couldn't do it without them and their support.
Well, and so I got to ask you this, because I'm It's so weird because I get to ask about these things now instead of just, kind of knocking on the doors and doing all that. But how has that been? So you're going and you're meeting with some of the constituents. You're, talking. What are some of the concerns that you're hearing from the voters, from the constituents in Wood River?
I'm hearing all sorts of things. Like there's so many different things that people are thinking about and talking about. A big thing is the rec center. And everybody wants to talk about the rec center, and I'm more than happy to. There's a lot of projects that are happening, and the 1% sales tax is helping towards all of those projects. So we've got sidewalks getting fixed and repaired, State Street sewer separation that's being done. It's getting started. I think the city just got more money to be able to start that earlier. Yeah. But to me, where I live, I'm in a floodplain.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
So they are doing a 9th Street detention pond that will take me and 200 other houses out of the floodplain. So to be honest, I wanted that done first. Put the shovels in the ground. Let's get it going.
Right.
So it's working. They're going. They're moving. I think all the engineering or something is done with it. They give us updates on it. So I'm excited to see that happening. But, the rec center, it's being built. It's like the walls are up. It's huge.
Right.
So I'm excited for it to be there for my kids.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really cool. I'm going to support it because it's happening. And the biggest way that I'm going to support it is economic growth.
Right.
I'm with economic development. That's the nonprofit that I work with a lot. And that's what I love to do.
Right. And so, and like I've told people before, I've said this on the air, I'll say it to you off the air, I really don't have a stake in this game. I like to get the information for the people of Wood River that are going to be voting in this. Why do you think the rec center became such a hot topic issue? Because it seems like right off the bat it was kind of getting a little, it was a little bit contentious, and then it seemed like in the summer it kind of blew, into this kind of big debate.
I don't really.
Okay.
Not really sure.
Right.
I know that there were other projects that people wanted started first. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat that I'm at, is that there were a lot of programs or things that should have been started.
Yeah.
But I also know that I think the city got a grant or something to start that, and there was a time crunch or something. But I'm going to support it.
Yeah.
And what I really like to do is just keep growing the community. Like, I've been working with economic development, and I'm talking to people daily that are wanting to come into Wood River, that are wanting to bring their businesses to Wood River. And we're just looking for places for them because we've kind of got a boom with new businesses and people interested. And to be honest, maybe the rec center is part of that, because I've talked to developers that have said, hey, we see that your city is putting a $10 million project for their citizens in the forefront, and that's important. And developers see that because they know that you're investing in your community, so they want to invest in their community.
Absolutely. And that's kind of segueing into my next question, because I know that whenever you do, go and you knock on the doors, you're handing out some material and telling people a little bit about who you are. Sometimes I think that, potential voters, prospective ones, don't really get the full they don't really understand the full picture of what's going on. They, kind of have this, the stereotype in their head, like, oh, nothing's happening, there's no businesses. Is that happened to you yet on your journey where someone goes, oh no, we're dying out, there's no businesses coming in, that you can kind of help educate on some of the growth?
Yeah, a few people. I started the What's Up Downtown meeting, and we do that quarterly, and that basically gives people the opportunity to come in, talk to business owners that are in the downtown area. If developers are there, if new businesses are coming in, they get to talk to residents and just say, hey, this is the special we have going on, this is what's happening, so that people know that there's a drive there and things are moving forward. But there's so much happening in all of Wood River. We have development stuff everywhere. The east side, there's things coming in. It's everywhere.
Right.
So I really want people to know that downtown is coming back. And so is East End. So is the area around Walmart. There's so much growth that's happening that people aren't seeing because it's all in the infant stage.
Right.
So it's happening.
And now this is something, too, that I always like to ask, and I think I forgot to ask it in my last interview, and I'm kicking myself for it. But, because I like to ask everyone the same question. Whoever's running for office gets the same four, because
Sure.
that way there's no bias, there's no leading in. And, one thing that I hear time and time again is that, people just lost faith in the election process, not because of, anything that happens nationally, but just because they feel like maybe locally their voices weren't being heard for a very long time. And my question is, if you're elected while you're running, what are you going to do to ensure that those voices that kind of feel like they've been neglected, that are kind of, not really left out, but, maybe not as included or incorporated as they'd like to be? How are you going to kind of bridge that gap?
Well, if I'm a city council member, I want people to be very open with me. Come talk to me, call me, email me, whatever. I'm very open to conversation to anybody. And that's what I tell people as I'm walking and talking to people. Talk to me. I'll talk to you about whatever you want. Let's have a conversation, because that's important to me.
Right.
And another important thing to me is volunteerism. I want people to volunteer in their community. But some people, they don't want to pick up trash.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Right. Like there's not very many people that want to, but maybe you love to paint and you could help a neighbor paint their house. Or maybe you, I don't know, want something big. I want to hear from the people, because I want to be able to have the city give people opportunities to volunteer for things they like.
Absolutely.
So the more things that you can volunteer for, the better your community will be.
Absolutely, and it kind of segues in. So we kind of tease that a little bit. So what's the platform here? So as you're running on, obviously, volunteerism in that community, being in the thick of it. But if you're elected on April 4th, what's day one? What's the big thing that you're going to tackle?
Growth is my biggest thing. My family has a small business in town.
Yeah.
They've been there for 40-something years.
Wow.
It's been there a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That my parents have owned it 20-something years, but I worked for the previous owners. So that was like my first real taste of Wood River and growth. I'm like, I can't explain it better. I'm going to continue with my economic growth.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue with possible incentives for people to come to Wood River. I want to be able to have the city work with the nonprofit to be able to have entrepreneurs have business workshops, have different things that they need, have city people come in and talk to them so that they know what they need to start a business in Wood River. Because the more growth and the more businesses that we have in Wood River, the more taxes come into Wood River, and the better the community can be.
Absolutely. And what I like, and just with every candidate so far that we've had on, there's, no matter if you're in agreement on certain things or not, there's still a concise message that you guys have. It's not, I'm just running because, might as well throw the hat in the ring. We'll see what sticks. You guys really have a mission here, and I think that's important. And no matter what way the voters decide, they're going to get some, an individual that hopefully, really has that mission and they're going. And I think it's awesome that you're so, like I said, both interviews so far, mission is there. It might not be what we all agree with, but it's still a mission nonetheless. And that's kind of what a lot of politicians keep forgetting about today. They have to have a plan, they just get in there. But I got to ask you, was political journey something that you really kind of had the forefront in your mind, or is that something that's kind of happened?
It's been there.
It has? Okay.
Yeah, it's been there. As I've said, I've always volunteered, and I love volunteering. I volunteer for the bike and pedestrian plan, and oh my.
That's a way to break the ice.
There you go.
All righty.
But I work with the bike and pedestrian plan that has just been finished.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the comprehensive plan. Like, I want to be involved with the planning of the city.
Well, and let me ask you this. What's one of the most impactful projects, the programs that you've been a part of in your timeline, in your tenure that you're going to hold the most, pride on for the longest? What project?
Oh, gosh.
This is where I get to 60 minutes now,
that's
Kristen.
That's a hard question. Yeah, that's a hard question. I've worked on a lot of projects. They've given me the opportunity, and I probably was kind of a pain in their rear end because I wanted to be involved.
Right.
So, and I'll push because I want to be involved. I think the bike and pedestrian plan is kind of near and dear to me. I'm a cyclist.
Oh, are you really?
I am.
Really cool.
So that's kind of one of my big ones. And working with Heartland Conservancy to work with that. Oh my gosh, it was so cool. And just the way that they brought it to us and brought it to the community, it's great.
Well, and it truly seems like, and like I said, not patronizing you, just kind of going based off this conversation, it really seems like you have had at least a contact or communication with a lot of, the individuals and organizations that work within the city, to begin with a lot of your nonprofit. Is that kind of the case? What are some of the things that you've learned just in that, time period of helping, organize things with organizing programs, with developing them that are going to help you for that, position if elected on April 4th?
Oh gosh, I've learned so much, but I
Right.
think the biggest thing with it, I've been able to talk to so many residents. I've been able to make relationships with these people to really hear what they want and really be able to move our city forward. And there's so many cool things that can happen. And I'm kind of like the, the sunshine in the room, because I want all of the good to be seen, because there's so much happening. And with the bike and pedestrian plan, we're going to be able to make our community so much better, just walkable and just ADA compliant, all of those things that are so important to have that hometown feel. Yeah. When I was a kid, I grew up with literally the best neighbors on the planet. And my best friend, still to this day, he and I would ride our bikes everywhere. I want that for the kids. I want these kids to feel comfortable and be able to see all of these different bike trails and bike lanes that they can ride on and feel safe, and their parents feel safe that they're able to get to the different locations that they want to get to. They need to ride to the park? Cool. They need to ride to school? Great. I want them to have that and be able to see that. And that's a big thing for me.
Absolutely. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for your time. And if you do win, just like I told Bill, if you guys win on April 4th, well, April 5th, you better be calling me back so we can get some insight.
All right, we'll do.
1028 here in the heart of the River Bend. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be talking to Modified Auto, hearing about the great services. They have an awesome location over at Eastgate. All that and more comes your way next, right after this.